The things that we have in our heart that we think are impossible are often just milestones waiting to get accomplished if you can push those limits. Listen, everything was impossible until someone did it, so you can either hang around people that tell you it can be done or hang around people that inspire possibilities. Welcome to the Path to Unlimited, weekly interviews with entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, those that inspire possibilities. And I'm your host, Julian Marion. All right, well, I have a very special guest today, Jason. Jason, welcome to the Path to Unlimited.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on today, Julian.
So Jason has an amazing story. We're not going to go to the entire story because it is long. from his time, in the military to finding his niche to the next step that he's on right now. But I definitely wanted to have Jason on the show just because of some of the barrier that he has broken for himself and obviously for other people, such as myself. I think we're going to call Jason the Kindle guy, right? The ebook guy.
Yeah, that'll work, man. I do self-publishing. I do Kindle, so I'll take any kind words you can say about me, man. There's nothing. That's fine with me.
Awesome. All right, well, Jason, can you tell us, a little bit more about, you and what you got going on right now?
Yeah, so basically right now I'm in the middle of doing a big self-publishing course, but I don't want to go too deep into that because, it is what it is. But I am a person who, like you mentioned before, I got out of the military about 2008, was looking for a job, really wasn't a lot going on out there. Decided to start up an e-commerce website, did pretty well at that, and kind of just rolled with that for a while. So I've been making my living online since around 2008, 2009. And then September 4th, 2013, my son was born, and I was like, man, I really want to do something more passive. I want to do a passive income business. So I found out about Kindle publishing, just kind of randomly watching YouTube videos. So I'm like one of the few people that can actually say I was kind of messing around on YouTube and found a business idea. But the cool. Yeah, so the cool thing about it is I wrote a book on drop shipping, and drop shipping is basically how I run my e-commerce website. And it did okay, but I seen the value of it, and I really began to scale my business up on Kindle after that. And at its peak, it was making around $20,000 a month, real passive income. And now I'm probably around anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 a month, real passive income as well. I'm not really doing a lot of book development, and we can go further down the road on that as exactly how I do it. But that's pretty much my business model in a nutshell.
Awesome. I mean, that is really cool. Recently for myself, like I finally launched, a book on Kindle, and I know that to navigate just the ebook arena is slightly different. And obviously I'll say I'm slightly more tech savvy than most, people, starting to do stuff online. And I had my challenges in the beginning, right? I had to find a couple good articles to really see, where to go, what software to use to convert, a book that I had on Word document and PDF into something that you can use on the Kindle platform, because obviously it's different.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff to it. When you're talking about taking from, like you're saying, like, okay, I've got my book in Word, I've got my book in, Pages, or what have you. How do I get that out there? How do I get my work out to the world? So that's sort of what I have been specializing in teaching. So like my big thing is I want to learn the process inside out. I really want to get good at it. And then I want to teach it to other people to help them do their thing as well. So I think it's cool, man. Like we were talking about, you came on my show today. I was like, man, your book's doing well. I think you were 60,000 in the paid store, which means out of all the books in Amazon, which there are millions, multiple millions, you were 60,000, which is really good. So
that's awesome. Yeah, like I told you, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really looking at anything, but that's exciting. All right, so you kind of know, the show and what we're about. And, for us, it's like we really believe that in life you either put limitations on yourself or allow others to limit you. So we want to kind of, dive deep into like your story on, what kind of limitations did you, first of all, whenever we talk about limitations, like what is your first thing that comes to mind for you?
For me, it was just coming from a house, growing up in a household where nobody was like successful from like a traditional sense, so I didn't have a lot of, I don't have, any college educated family members. My mother, I was raised by my grandmother basically, but she was a waitress and really hardworking and really, busted her butt every day. But I didn't really have any role models. So a lot of the times, and I was not really doing that well in high school and stuff. So a lot of people, man, you're just like, yo, you need to go get a job down at the factory and you need to do this and that. And I was like, man, and like we talked about today, I got my hands on Think and Grow Rich, luckily at the library. I wasn't even looking for that book, man, but it almost manifested itself.
Yeah, that book just finds you all the time.
Yeah, dude, I had a German Shepherd, man, and I was like looking for dog training books, and I'm bouncing around this library. I see this book that looked like a Bible. I'm like, what is this? So I started reading that, and that was like one of the first things that like, I was like, man, there's actually kind of a formula to success. There's actually something that, like people don't get lucky. You're not born. Most people aren't born with just like phenomenal confidence or business skills. It's a learned process. So that was like what got me like thinking in a different direction. I was actually in the military too. Some guy, he had a bunch of self-help books and I had never heard of him as well. It's like back in 2002. And so I was like, man, what is this stuff? Like he had the 48 Laws of Power. Or that's actually 2004 when I came across that. But yeah, 48 Laws of Power by, I forget his name, but I'm looking at the book right now. Let me see. I want to give this guy props. Robert Greene is his name, Robert Greene. So I started reading that type of stuff. And so, yeah, to answer your question, the limitations I had on myself were like no one in my immediate family was successful. Like, how the hell am I going to be successful?
Yeah, I think that's one that a lot of people have because you're looking at people around you and trying to model and say, well, if they're like that, I'm like that.
Yeah.
So definitely relate to that. What about other people? Have you ever had like limitations like kind of imposed on you when someone said, "No, Jason, you are this. That's it." Right? In our family, we don't go and try to be millionaires, or we don't go and trying to change people's life or improve people or teach people. We're not teachers. We're workers. Like, you ever had something like that when people trying to really impose limitations on you?
Yeah, definitely, Julian. So I remember I was a senior in high school, and I was going to my guidance counselor because they make you go, like when you're a senior, they kind of make you mandatory, to go in there and talk to her. And she's looking over my grades, and they're really bad. Okay. And I'm like, she's like, I don't think you're going to be able to get into college. I'm like, well, what about community college? She's like, I don't think you're going to be able to get in there either. I'm like, geez, like I'm really, I'm really doing something wrong. So, she was just kind of giving me the whole thing. Like, you're just going to have to get a job. You're just going to have to like be able to, go punch a clock. That was kind of the thing. I remember walking out of the office. I'm like, man, like I knew I was, and a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, a lot of people out there listening, you guys, like a lot of people sucked in high school. A lot of people sucked in college, and it's like, what I find is those people are super interesting because, man, a lot of that stuff doesn't speak to them. Like you do physical fitness, so it's like a lot of people learn through, the physical fitness side of things. And they learn kind of physically. And so I'm a hands-on learner. So like the high school traditional education model wasn't really speaking to me. So, that was pretty much one of the limitations people have put on me. I've had a lot of people tell me that, many things that I had a drill sergeant tell me, he's like, when I was in the Army, man, because I was like, dude, I was out of shape, man. Like, I don't even want to, like, I've turned my life around on the health front, but like when I first walked into basic training, dude, I'm 5'10", I was probably 215, 220 pounds, and I was pure fat. Like, I was not any muscle. And he called me something, I forget what he said. It was like, he's like, you're a private do nothing or something. He's like, you suck. Like, it was just, he was breaking me down, dude. And that's part of the, that's part of the deal. They want to kind of, break you down and build you up. But like, I wasn't getting a lot of love, man. Like I didn't roll out like, like a LeBron James where people were praising me, man. Like I had to, had to work on myself, so.
Awesome. So how do you make a living now?
I make my living primarily in two ways. I have my e-commerce websites, which I
Okay.
sell self-defense products. I run Shopify stores. So basically, the model that I use is via drop shipping. So someone comes on my website, they order something, I charge retail, and I pay wholesale, and a company ships it out for me. And that was my first business. And I've kind of got about two or three of those stores. And then I sell books on Kindle, and I do courses and teaching. I make a little bit of money on YouTube, and nothing crazy. Some affiliate marketing for products that I really like Lead Pages and HostGator. But the primary two are e-commerce and my Kindle book sales.
Cool, cool, cool. So, like I think like a big reason why people don't act on their goals is because of fear, right? Like especially I think with books, right? As soon as you attach your name to a book, you're afraid of what people might say or think about you, right? So, can you give us a time where you were fearful but did it anyway? Kind of, how did you do it, and what was the result?
So there's two answers to that. The first one is like, and we talked about this too a little bit, like, you can always go back and edit your book. Like if your book isn't, if people are saying, yo, your book sucks, chapter 3 is horrible, like, I don't know what you put that in there, you go back in there and revise it. So that's one way to get around it. For me, just taking action, like, my thing was like, I seen the business model, especially when we're talking about Kindle publishing. You're able to take something like anybody listening to this right now, you can literally write a book, in a couple of weeks, or, Grant Cardone, he did it in a week and put a bestseller out there. And you can have your work out there really quick, get really good feedback on it, or bad feedback, depending on what, you wrote, and you can get it out there. So that excited me, and that's why I took the plunge. And then the other thing you can do, if, let's say you're a person who, hey, you want to be anonymous, you want to be behind the scenes, roll with a pen name. There's many famous authors that have pen names. Stephen King's one of them, that he's got books out there that he publishes in the kind of sci-fi realm under Stephen King, but he has other books that he has under pen names. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like, man, I want to do a book, but I might want to write something like a romantic novel, but I don't want to put my name on it, go with a pen name. That's perfectly fine.
That's cool. Yeah, I never thought of that, but you're right. There's some people they would not always attach their name to different whenever they totally want to try something new.
Yeah.
But that alleviates fear that if you do fail, or if if something does happen, that let's say if you work for a company that doesn't really allow you to be public, for example, you can definitely use a different name.
Definitely,
To
yeah.
be attached to the book. So how does it? Okay, so let's dive into writing, okay? Because I know this is kind of like your niche. I love it. My belief is that everybody has a book inside of them. Like I really, really, really believe in it. Like your story can help somebody else's story. That's because we all looking for somebody that kind of looks like us, right? So we try to model somebody that, like, let's say somebody's looking for Jason. Okay, somebody that kind of went to the army and then was like didn't really find his path. Got a kid. So like they're trying to be very, very specific, because sometimes you might say, you know what? I love what Tony Robbins is doing, but I'm not 6'7".
Right, yeah.
Right, like
yeah.
I'm not that tall, 6'6", so I can't do this. But okay, I got this guy. He's about 5'9", okay, and he's not too muscular or too imposing. So because of him, now I'm gonna go and try to model success based on him. So so that's why I think that writing a book, everybody should write one, regardless on if they quote unquote are considered successful, and everybody else's eyes. But the fact that they've gone through challenges, let's say if you've come through cancer, for example, like you should write a book.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go through it and don't know what to do, but you did it, and if you close to them, or in terms of like resemblance, then they want to copy you, and they're going to feel a lot more empowered. So can you tell us kind of like the business? How does it work in terms of like Kindle? Like it kind of alleviate some of the fears that people might have to write a book, for example, and how to market it.
Yeah, so like one of the things you said is like a lot of people are scared, like, okay, like your book, 21 Days to Unlimited, right? Like you have a lot of self-help stuff in there. You have a lot of personal productivity stuff in there. So a lot of people are like, man, do I want to write another productivity book? Do I really want to write it? Because there's a lot of it's already been said, but it's like you were saying, like people are going to identify with Julian. Some people are going to identify with Jason. Some people are going to identify with, XYZ, right? So like, it's not about like what you're saying. Yes, you want it to be really good, but like at the same time, like me and you have a kind of a similar message, but we might have a completely different audience. You know what I mean? So that would be the first thing I would say. And then as far as technical side of it, my thing is I tell my coaching students all the time, just write the book, get the book out, because, get a really, really good first draft, have someone go over it, and then go through all the technical stuff. When it comes to marketing, Amazon, what's really cool about Amazon is it's like its own marketing machine. Okay, they want to sell your books. They want you to be successful. So if you have a good book and it starts to sell really well, I mean, you'll see what they do with their ads. Like it'll say like, oh, you bought Julian's 21 Days to Unlimited. You might like the Stephen Covey book, right? Because Stephen Covey's selling heck of a lot of books. So they have some really smart, they call it like retargeting. So that's why I liked Amazon so much, is because I don't have to go out here and pound the pavement and be like, hey, look at me, I have this website, come over, buy my book. It's just like you put it on there, you do some promotional stuff. There's a lot of different stuff you can do social media wise, getting your list. I'm a big believer in building up an email list and, having them go on there and, and help you with some reviews if they like your stuff. Reviews are super important, by the way. Social proof. But so
questions about that real quick, because I know this is kind of a big one. And we talk about reviews, right? And I've seen it a couple of times. Some people would make their book free so they can get reviews or ask for reviews. Like what is the strategy behind that some people do?
So that's a really good question, actually. And that's one of the strategies that I like to implement really consistently. So Amazon has, when you enroll in what they call the Kindle Select program, you're basically making your book exclusive to Amazon. So you cannot sell your book. I think you're in it. I'm looking at your book right now, right? Yeah. You can't sell your book anywhere else but on Amazon. But you get some special privileges to doing that. For example, you can put your book for 5 days for free, which a lot of people are like, why would I do that? Well, you're going to get a lot of people to check your book out and to check your message out. And sometimes, like for someone like you, your book is more like of a conduit to your business. Like yes, it'd be nice to make some money on it, but you want to promote your business and your podcast and in your own personal brand. So there is that portion of it as well. So putting it on there for free is a great way to get reviews, to get some eyes on your book. And then Amazon has an algorithm where they say, okay, Julian put his book on for free for 5 days. 10,000 people downloaded it. So that tells Amazon that a lot of people are interested in your book. And what it ends up happening is when your book goes back on sale, it's going to get a lot more distribution throughout their sales channels. They email people on your behalf, with what we talked about, like, hey, you liked XYZ, you might like Julian's book, so that's a good strategy I use. There's some other strategies. Some people don't like doing the free thing. I've been a big fan of it because I'm a big fan of collecting email addresses. So within your book, you can have lead pages, which I'm sure a lot of your audience is familiar with that company, or like ClickFunnels, and collect a simple email. You say, hey, look, I got my book, 21 Days to Unlimited. I'm going to keep using you as an example, but, hey, here's my 5 success tips. Something simple, something easy that people can download, get some value for an email address. Now you have their email. When you go to release your next book, or you have your next project, or even for your podcast, you send them a simple email out, because those are your fans. Those are your people that took enough time to invest in you. And so I'm a huge fan of that. Every book that I have has a lead page in it going to some type of opt-in form. Okay.
Yep. I'm taking notes for myself as well.
And I help you with it, man, because I'm digging into your book, man, and let me see if you got one.
I know I have a couple of links in there, but nothing. For me, it was, like I say, was version number 1. Get it out. Get it out. Get feedback. And then improve and repeat. And
do you mind if I give your listeners an example of how this is done?
Absolutely.
So I have a what's called a permanently free book, which that's kind of another kind of tactic that maybe we can get into on a different show. But it's basically making your book permanently free on Amazon. And I have that under a pen name by the name of Jackson Nash. It's kind of a fitness pen name. And the book is titled, let me make sure I know. It's like 37 smoothies for weight loss. And this is permanently free, guys. I mean, I'm not going to make any money off this or anything, but basically, if you go in that book and you go into that and you look at it, you'll see how I set up my lead generation in there. Currently, that book has 465 reviews. Are all 4.5 stars, 4.5 stars total, I should say. And I've built up a pretty considerable email list just with this. So
how does it work? So they're searching that on Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm searching on Amazon, I'm buying it. Where do I go from there? Is Amazon sending me somewhere, or like
No.
How does it work? Like how do you get their emails from that point?
Okay, so are you looking at the page right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so basically, if you go through it, you like inside the actual book. Mm-hmm. When they download it to their device, there's a link right in the beginning, right in the very beginning. And in this particular scenario, I have my lead generation tool is download the best ebooks, 5 best fat loss ebooks. So I threw together like 5, simple fat loss books that people might like.
Gotcha.
Made it real like a no brainer. Like, hey, you're getting basically 5 free little miniature books, so that's how that works. And then you just set them up through, I use lead pages, but I mean, you can use, there's a lot of different ones out there, but.
Okay, I understand. So you're sending him, and I've seen that a couple of authors do that. I know, the Miracle Morning, Al, he's changed his book multiple times, and now he has a lot more, and I see that happening time and time again. A lot more authors are sending people directly, obviously, to their website.
Yeah.
To a specific page so they can actually collect the email. So that is really cool, really interesting. But I know the making your book free so you can get downloads and then potentially reviews, show traction, and then potentially going back to making it a paid version. Kind of just helps with the momentum because you're all looking for momentum online, right? Just momentum. Okay, so what would you say has been like the biggest challenges for you so far in your life and in starting a business and having a little kid? I know you have one, right?
Yeah.
Your son, 2 years old. We heard him a little bit at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been the biggest challenges for you?
Really, the biggest challenge for me, I would have to say, is sort of finding that perfect balance in the work and in the personal life. Like, I think we are all habit-based people. Like, I mean, for instance, like if I sit down, let's say the next 5 nights in a row and I start watching sports or I start playing video games, like my body gets into that natural rhythm. And I'm like, man, it's hard. It would be hard for me. Or like working out. If you work out 5 days in a row, you miss day 6, it's easy to jump on day 7. Some of the research has said like, it's 21 days to form a habit. It's actually around 66 days has been like the sweet spot to really form and sink in a habit. So for me, it's been like trying to find the balance, like I love to work, but it's like, these are the formative years with my son. Like I want to spend as much time as I can with him. So that's why I've been really passionate about doing passive income based businesses where you do something once, like write a book, and you can potentially get paid on it for a really long time or indefinitely. And, stuff that, like Pat Flynn talks about, you do the hard work up front and you can get paid for it down the road. So that's been my challenge. Yeah.
If you guys don't know who Pat Flynn is, he's a host of a podcast named The Smart Passive Income. And it's all about making, passive income, which is, describe passive income for people. So really so they can understand what passive income truly means. So
for me, the definition of passive income is like, just give you an example. For me, the best example, like just like for the books, right? So let's say you guys put a book out, Julian, you've got your book out, you've done work one time, you've put some work in, but theoretically you don't have to do a lot of work to continuously make money. Whereas like the active based income would be, going to work or, doing coaching and stuff. That's active. Like I'm trading my time for money. Whereas like passive income, I can be, in Mexico on a beach or, in the Virgin Islands, sipping on a alcoholic beverage and making money. And so that really appeals to me. But I'm not like, I do like to get my hands dirty. Like I like to do like what we're doing now, the podcasting and the YouTube videos and things like that. But I'm a big fan of putting in that really hard work, getting your business up, and being able to just make money while you're sleeping,
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that is part of the whole culture of being unlimited, which means pretty much whatever you think of, you can accomplish. If you want to be like Jason, for example, you say, what, like my kid is 2 years old. I know between from 1 to 3. This is again based on studies. Between 1 to 3, this is when kids develop their character. I want to be there for that. Like I don't want to be those years when I'm constantly out grinding, and then I wake up, my son is like 7 or 8 years old. So because of that, now you kind of found a system. You kind of looked, okay, so one, be resourceful. Okay, so what do I currently have right now that I can use? Two, you're innovative. So how can I use what I currently have and use it differently? And then 3, okay, what is the distribution, right? So what is the network that I can build so that I can get this message or these products out? To me, that's what I really love about you and your story is that you figure out, what, I want to do this now. I could go and consult and do a bunch of consulting gig time, and just like keep on moving and going. Yeah. But you're like, no, right, I want to spend time with my family right now, so I'm going to find a way to do what I want to do. And I think that is, I want to commend you for that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the heart of my business. And like we talked about, the other day, man, like everything that we want to learn has already been usually written down in a book or on a video or,
most likely.
So like, to be unlimited is to be able to say, hey, look, there's no limit to what you can do. Like when I was setting my goals this year, I said, you know what, a lot of people, in my position, the next logical, step might be, I want to create, a business that was like $300,000 business, generate that much revenue in a year where, I said, you know what, I want to do a 7-figure business. I want to create a product. I want to create a business that generates 7 figures because that excites me. That makes me wake up like, I've got a mission to do. Whereas, 6 figures is great. I've made 6 figures before. It's really nice. And it's really afforded my family a comfortable life. But I want 7 figures because I want to be able to affect a lot of change. I'm not a big materialistic person, but for some of the charitable endeavors that I want to embark on, for some of the things that I want to do for the world, 7 figures is the starting point that I need to be at.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. So what do you think? What do you think is one thing that you believe in that other people don't believe in?
I would say probably this is going to get a little controversial, but maybe not too bad. Animal rights. I'm a huge believer in what's going on out in factory farming is absolutely horrible. Okay, when we talk about the slaughter and just the way things are being done and injecting of hormones and just the waste and the unhealthy nature of factory farming and just the torture and just things like that. I mean, you don't have to go very far to figure out what's going on in those buildings. And so a lot of people that I heard a video the other day, he's like, man, he's like, if someone's burning an American flag or someone's burning a Bible, people are going to freak out. They're going to go crazy. Okay. And there is a gentleman by the name of Gary Yourofsky, and he's the one that said that. And he's like, but, if someone's killing an animal, no one really thinks twice about it, where we get our food from and the sources that they come from. And he's like, that's the creation of God, an animal, everything is in the creation of God. And he's like, but people don't think twice about it. And I'm not I'm not a hardcore vegan or anything like that, but I try to, balance a diet of about 90% plant-based foods and about 10% animal products. And I'm very, very conscious where I get my food from. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that. And a lot of people might not agree with me because they're like, man, I've always ate meat. I've always had three meals every day, and most of them are based around some kind of animal protein. And then, Julian, we can get beyond that with the environmental impact. There's a documentary on Netflix called Cowspiracy where they talk about just the pollution that these farms, these factory farms cause. So I recommend your audience takes a look at that. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of my, I guess, controversial thing that maybe people might not necessarily agree with me on.
Awesome. All right, I have two more questions, and then we'll say goodbye. The first one is like, what would you tell someone, right? Like, put your coach hat on.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell someone that is limiting themselves, right? Limiting themselves or allowing somebody else to limit them. Like, what would you tell them to take action? Like, what kind of action step would you give them?
I would say this, and this is something I tell myself every day. I would say you're gonna die. At some point, you're not gonna be alive anymore. And when you're on your deathbed, you're gonna be like, damn, I really wish I would have done all this stuff that I could have done. You know, that's kind of my motivating factor. I don't want to live a life of regret. You know, it's actually funny that not funny, but it's actually really sad when they go ahead and they kind of interview people that are about to die, and they ask them like, man, what's your biggest regret? Is, you know, I didn't travel enough. I didn't spend enough time with my family. I didn't appreciate life more. So I would tell people that are limiting themselves, like, we're all on an expiring timeline. Okay. We don't know when we're going to go. We don't know what, you know, when the big man upstairs is going to call our number. So it's like, get it done, get what you need to get done. Do all that you can do in each day and just put that work in, because eventually, you know, it's going to pay off. It might not be today. You know, we talked about this, you know, with kind of what we're doing with our shows and stuff. It might not be today, but 2 years from now, you know, it hit a critical mass. And so just keep chopping wood every day. Don't be scared. Take chances. Get out of your comfort zone.
All right. So let's say if you were unlimited, right, could not fail, like, what would you do in the next 7 days?
Jeez, man, you're throwing the haymakers out here, man. Oh boy, what would I do in the next 7 days? If I just, like, no one could say no to me, and like I could, like,
can't fail.
Jeez, man. I would probably start out by meeting a lot of the people that I really look up to. I would, you know, definitely want to have conversation and dinner with, you know, guys like Tony Robbins and, you know, people like that. Definitely talk a lot about ways that we can all live, you know, in a coexist in a peaceful manner. You know, try to get all the leaders around the world in one room together and try to get things figured out, so people stop killing each other, so people can get along, so everybody can be fed, because there's enough food going around that people can be fed all around the world if we could figure out a way to do it. I would definitely like to get clean water into all of the developing countries around the world. You know, so many people die each year because we don't have clean water for them. It's just as simple as that. You know, so I would go around and just try to affect as much good and change as we possibly can, because I really do think at the heart, people are good. 90% of people are good. There's 10% of, maybe 95% of people are good. There might be 5% of people out there that might be some bad apples, but trying to get everybody together and come to some sort of conclusion that we can all coexist, that we can all be happy. There's enough of everything to go around for everybody, but, you know, we all have to be able to see that.
Boom. That was awesome.
Was that good enough?
That was great. I mean, at the end of the day, this question goes into your core, right? Core values. So what you truly value the most.
Now, when I was 22 and you answered me that, or asked me that, it might be a little different. It might have some chicks,
different answers,
partying and stuff, man. But it kind of
awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for you know, being our guide on this path to unlimited. How can we support you, and if people want to get a hold of you, like, how can they do so?
Okay, cool. Right now, I have a product coming out, and by the time you release this, it might be already out. It's over at selfpublishinguniversity.net. It's going to teach you guys how to completely be amazing at Kindle publishing, at self-publishing, how to get your book out there, how to sell copies, how to, you know, put your name and your word out there. So that's it. I'm on YouTube. You just type my name in, Jason Bracht. Last name is Bracht. Got a bunch of videos on there. And I also have a new podcast called The Self-Made Show. And interviewed Julian today. So definitely trying to catch up to his level. He talked about Pat Flynn. He'll probably have Pat Flynn on his podcast by the time I have a few more done. But so yeah, guys, I really appreciate it, man, and I do appreciate this interview, and keep doing what you're doing.
All right, thank you, sir, and we'll catch you later.
All right, bye.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure to rate, review or like this episode. It really helps the podcast and the message to be spread and heard by millions, and that is our goal, to inspire possibilities to millions. And of course, subscribe to get our new episodes when they air. Remember to accept compliments from everyone, limitations from no one.